Welcome, fellow gamer pothead, your pal Puttyman here, and I just got done watching Dark Phoenix, and for me this is a huge staple and change. Now, I wrote this part of my review prior to seeing the movie, just so I could put into perspective how big of a deal this movie really is based on all the movies I've reviewed and my history with Marvel and X-Men in general. Now, I first was introduced to Marvel Comics in general by way of my first X-Men comic, and this set off a firestorm which amped me up for the first movie and so on. Now, I was totally aware at the time of all the messed up things in the Fox X-Men saga and how they were just so broken from the comic, but I was willing to ignore this because of just how happy I was just to see a Marvel movie succeed. Well, except this. I couldn't ignore this horrible nightmare. By the way, doesn't he remind you of someone?
Baraka wins.
Right? Anyway, prior to the first X-Men movie, DC movies dominated the box office until Batman and Robin, and I was just happy to see Marvel succeed despite the horrible way they changed the original source material to the movies. That brings us to now, 2019. When the Marvel Cinematic Universe is dominating the box office and the X-Men and Fantastic Four are finally in the rest of the MCU. So before I do my review, I want to make everyone aware that whether or not they got it right this time when it comes to the origins of Dark Phoenix, which, side note by the way, the comic was in struggle on the topic of Dark Phoenix, whether it being a separate entity from Jean Grey herself or something that was locked up. I believe them to be separate entities, but this was typed before me seeing this movie, so do not count this as spoilers. Anyway, with the X-Men back in the hands of Marvel and now in the MCU, I figure they will do a reboot that will be closer to the comic books, and we will get our legit titled Uncanny X-Men movie, which will unfortunately probably not have Wolverine off the gate. Now, I know that may sting hearing that, and I will explain why in the future video, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so when I do make that video, you'll be aware. Anyways, on to my visual review of, let's get it, Dark Phoenix. Now guys, this is going to be off script based on my thoughts and everything when it comes to this movie, and plenty of things I want to go through, especially in the spoiler review. So I'm just going to go ahead and touch on a few things that with the cast and everything. So a few things that kind of made things iffy was the cast is actually, well, first and foremost, this is the cast that you would see from X-Men Apocalypse. So if you're not familiar, if you have not seen that movie, then this cast you're not going to know. It doesn't have the original cast. It just has people from X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, and then the new characters from Apocalypse. So again, that's going to be a lot of filler that you're going to need to get into. First and foremost, I want to go into Sophie Turner's role as Jean Grey. I think she did an absolutely great job on that. I think she was a better Jean Grey, unfortunately, than even Famke Janssen, the original Jean Grey in the first movie. I think she portrayed her emotions a lot better when it comes to the character, so I was quite proud of that. But at the same point, we have Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, and I don't know, I don't feel him. I don't know, I feel like they're getting way too many people that play Cyclops to be very sensitive, and at the same time not really strong role models. When it comes to Cyclops as a character, he needs to possess leadership, Next I want to go into, and I'm going to be going into these characters that are the quite newer ones. So there's Alexandra Shipp as Storm. I love her Storm. Her portrayal of Storm is amazing. She looks a lot like Storm. I like how she does the young Storm, the 80s Storm, really well. And this was based in this was movies in the 90s, so it's just right at the cusp of the 80s, so I felt like her character was great. No complaints there. Evan Peters as Quicksilver, again, a great casting on my part. That was, as far as Quicksilver, the casting of Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron was actually quite horrible to me, and the Quicksilver in this one of Evan Peters I love. Now we have Cody Smith McPhee that plays Nightcrawler. I think he does a good job as far as the look and maybe a little bit of the sensitivity. I don't feel I mean, there's really, honestly, to be honest with you, I don't think there's much opportunity for him to really fill in that role. And at the same time, they haven't really portrayed Nightcrawler in this saga. The original saga, I felt they did a better job of Nightcrawler, and this one, I felt they've been a little lacking in that. So let's jump on over to the main cast, the one majority of people know. Now I'm gonna go into one person that I feel I never felt was ever good for this role, and that's Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. Now, if you love her as Mystique, awesome. Honestly, to me, this they never even should have made Mystique a good character in the first place. And if you don't understand, that's a comic book thing, you know what I mean? But you already know from the old movies that she was a bad guy, and they turned her into a good guy, and I don't know why. And so, honestly, I don't like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. I've never liked her as Mystique, and honestly, I'm just glad that Marvel's got their hands on it so things can change. That's all I'm going to say in that. Now, going into James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as Professor X and Magneto. Two great actors that do great portrayals of these characters, continuing from the legendary Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. Those two were perfect as all those roles, and I feel like James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender have done a great job taking those roles and making it their own. It's an absolute joy to see them on screen and everything else. Now, I know I haven't put any pictures up, and that's because I wanted to go through the non-spoiler review right now, give you guys a little thing, and then go into the spoiler review, because there's a lot I want to go into with the spoiler review. So I'm going to go into my verdict. Now, as far as there are Jessica Chastain's in this movie, and if you Google Dark Phoenix cast, they put her as Smith. Now, I'm glad they did this, because a lot of times they reveal a name and it kills things. And I will say that that's not the name. That's not a spoiler at all, because you don't even know who she is or what is going on. And I'm going to leave that for spoilers. But she's Smith, okay? So we're going to keep it at that. So overall, this is a good X-Men movie. Outside of, I mean, again, when you're comparing it to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's kind of falls short. I mean, it's definitely better than or Thor: The Dark World, but this also won't compare to Logan or Deadpool at all in those ways. So it's still, in my eyes, it's one of the top 3 X-Men movies, to be honest with you. I think they did a great job when it comes to the Phoenix and what they did with her. Whether or not they exceeded my expectations or things like that, that again will be for the spoiler review. So I want to go ahead and leave this part here when it comes to the non-spoiler review. So we're going to go into the spoiler review now, guys. So I want you guys to go ahead and, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. If you're an X-Men fan, most definitely add it to your collection to see it. If you feel that you can't see any, something has to be better than Logan and Deadpool, then this definitely isn't for you. But if you did like the first X-Men movie, maybe X-Men Days of Future Past or X-Men First Class, I think you're going to enjoy this one. If you liked X-Men Apocalypse, you're definitely going to enjoy this. And if you liked X-Men The Last Stand, by God, go see this. This is way better than X-Men The Last Stand. By God. They did horrible on the Phoenix on that movie and did great on this one compared to that. So definitely go see it. So with that, we're going to go into spoiler territory. So again, I'm popping on the screen spoilers. We're also going to change the graphics here in a bit. But spoilers now, we're just going to pop up on the screen and flash in front of your eyes, because we're getting in spoiler territory right now. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to talk about some of these side characters, and I'm going to get into actually Phoenix, aka Jean Grey herself, and the character that's being played by Jessica Chastain. But first, I had to make some notes about characters that popped in, and one most of all I have to bring up without even skipping a beat, because I love her. I loved her in the comics, even though she's not a great character. She was just visually fun, and she was so loved that she was put into other medias prior to the first X-Men movie coming out. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm about to say if you've seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, or if you've seen the movie and you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, this girl right here. This is a screenshot of her in the movie. Her name is Dazzler. Check it out, guys. Dazzler is a character that her powers are just to do flashing lights, so she can blind a person with her flashing lights. But what makes her flashing lights so good is she's an entertainer in the X-Men universe. See, when it comes to X-Men back in the day, there were just some outrageous characters that just didn't fit in a movie. And now that we're in a generation where in the MCU where things can be a little bit crazier, people are okay with things being a little bit crazy, where they don't have to be realistic. To be honest with you, to see Dazzler in the woods putting on a show to every other X-Men, she's there for a reason. She may not be there to be powerful, but she's there to be part of the group, and she's entertaining everyone. And oh my God, you don't understand how far back Dazzler goes. Understand, she's been in the comics book since the 80s. She appeared in the X-Men animated series. You can see a scene right here. Such a great scene too. It was short. It was only one episode, but my God, I love it. And she even appeared in the X-Men arcade game. No joke. You've got all these selection of characters, and then here's Dazzler. And they kind of tweaked her abilities and everything. But the thing is this is why she was in the game in the first place, because everyone loved this character. And she's been ignored through all the X-Men movies. And I think finally, when they said, you know what, since this is it, this is the last X-Men movie with Fox, let's throw it out and throw out the biggest character everybody loves. Throw out Dazzler. And we got our Dazzler. Oh my God, we got our Dazzler. And she doesn't have anything to do with the main character when it comes to Phoenix or Dabari or the Dabari or Avuk. Which okay. So now, see, that's the thing. Okay, let me explain. See, the thing is, Dazzler is just a side character like there are with other characters. But then the main target is going to be Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, and then of course Jessica Chastain's character, which her character name is Vuk. Okay. Now here's the reason. The reason why I had to do a big deal about this is. She's playing a character named Vuk. In the comic books, Vuk is a male character that ends up becoming Starhammer. And I don't know if you've seen... I'm going to throw up the picture now. These are actually Dabaris. Dabaris are a species that kind of look like Groot, but they look kind of like broccoli. They're green. And the Dabari's planet was destroyed by the Phoenix. Now, this is getting back to what I did with my intro early in the video. In my intro, I stated that I didn't know if they were going to do the Dark Phoenix as one entity or two entities. They finally did something right. And everything is not on point. You got to remember, when it comes to the X-Men universe with Fox, it's so convoluted and so messed up that nothing can be fixed. So I felt like in this movie, they finally just said, screw it. You know what? Let's just do this right. If we're going to end it, we're going to do it right. And so what they did was they actually had a mission to go find some pilots. And if you saw that entity in the sky, that's the Dark Phoenix, and it takes over Jean Grey's body because Jean Grey's the only one powerful enough to contain the Dark Phoenix, just like in the comics. So the Dabari are chasing down the Dark Phoenix because they destroyed their planets. Well, Vuk, the female you see that's trying to take it from her, actually ends up becoming a character named Starhammer. But that Starhammer, but Vuk in the comic book is a male. So I was kind of shocked. Like, I wasn't expecting the Dabari. I didn't know she was a part of the Dabari because, again, in the main story of the Dabari with the Phoenix Saga in the comic books, Vuk was a male. So I was taken aback when I found out that she was Vuk. And that's kind of one of those things where you can watch it in the trailer and you never figure that out because of the male and female. Changing the gender may not have been a great idea. Well, would have been a bad idea if they continued this story. But it's a good idea since they're ending the story. Which also brings me to the next thing, guys. The Dabari that came to the planet is only a small percentage. That Dabari could be a part of what brings together the MCU, guys. The Dabari and Starhammer, the Dabari actually go way back to the Avengers. The Dabari actually met up with the Avengers, actually Captain America, I should say, way back. I don't even know. I don't even have pictures to it, and I should have got pictures for you guys. Basically, the Dabari go back. Actually, no, wait. I can find an original picture of Captain America. And I think it's like when Captain America unmasked the Dabari. I'll find that picture online. If I do, I'll post it right here if you see it. But it's basically it happened back in the 60s. Like there's a Captain America comic book that had the Dabari in there, and so now the Dabari are you find out later on in the comic books the Dabari's planet were destroyed by the Dark Phoenix, and that's the reason Starhammer comes to be. but they changed the course for this movie. But it excites me to see that they're taking those chances with these bigger characters and expanding the universe, but I feel like they did it right at the wrong time. Or maybe they did it on purpose to connect it to the MCU, because the MCU is now going to intergalactic, other dimensions, things of that nature. This is a perfect time to bring in the Vook, but maybe change them. Give them that Groot broccoli look that they have in the comic books. Bring us our X-Men in that way, maybe. You know what I mean? Because if you saw at the end, right at the end, you see that the Phoenix is still alive. This opens up a lot of things of interdimension, things of that nature, because the Phoenix has actually been part of that as well. So, I love the way this movie ended. At the same time, I was hoping that they'd give us a hint to how it's going to connect to the MCU. But I feel like Fox just said, you know what, we're done. There'll be more X-Men movies, it just won't be under our hands anymore, and this is it. That saga is ended. No more, guys. No more on the Fox side. And I feel like that's basically what's happened. Even though I might not have gotten the things I wanted when it comes to the character design, things of that nature. But I feel like it was needed in our way when it comes to this movie to end it in a very nice way, but also to throw in those things for the fans that deserve it. If we're not going to get our Hugh Jackman Wolverine, we might as well go ahead and get our Dazzlers. God, I'm so glad to see Dazzler. I'm just so hyped when I saw Dazzler. My jaw dropped, dude. My jaw dropped when I saw Dazzler. And when I get this movie on Blu-ray or DVD, I'm just gonna find a way to take that one segment, that scene of her performing in front of the kids in the woods, and just freaking repeat that over and over again like it's a music video. No joke, man. I'm just so happy to see Dazzler. That's something that my generation had, and that this generation has no idea about. And it's nice to see little plugs to the older generation. But I want to know what you guys think. Did you like the movie Dark Phoenix? Do you guys feel it left any clues connecting to MCU other than what I've realized? And maybe there's something I missed that you want to comment below, or if you have any questions as well, I could definitely do a follow-up video to answer your questions. So with that, comment below. And as always, I am Puttyman with Gamer Potheads. Go see the movie, and do not forget, we're all about the high score. Peace out, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Your striker finally figured out how to shut you up.
Oh, hell no! Fox, you did bad. You messed up badly, bro.